There's 30, believe it or not, from like Lynn's all the way down to Evans Plunge.
Was that something that was budgeted for?
Yes.
We talked about it.
Where?
It's in the solid waste fund.
Okay.
And I think that it was talked about at both the Historical Preservation Committee and Admin, Finance, and Parks.
Nolan did bring it to us and he did show it. I didn't realize they cost this much. I don't think that was presented.
I believe these are cheaper than the ones that we're replacing.
These are $200 cheaper than the ones we're replacing. A piece.
I called Misty today and that's what she told me.
Okay, good.
That's the only question I have.
Okay. Any other discussion?
And the page 5, it talks about install concrete overlay for $14,000.
Is that a plunge?
Yes, it is. And that's the second half that came into Brownstone. Yeah, the deck around the pool.
So we had to do half up front and half when completed.
And then on page 7, it talks about green board wood screws, cork tile, mirrors, clear light panels, and those are all coded to office supplies for $6,300.
Yeah, I questioned that too. The department head determines where they code that to. None of it would be considered a capitalized or capitalizable expense, so it doesn't matter if we don't put it into buildings and equipment. She has the say over her budget, and that's where she wanted to pay it out of. So.
Out of office supplies?
That line item in her budget. It doesn't necessarily mean it's restricted solely for that purpose. There are recommendations. I'm sure that you've seen on DLA's website of what you purchase in certain things, but it doesn't hurt anything for it to be in there.
I would just think for our own purposes, why we would ever code something that didn't wasn't for that.
Could be considered an office supply. Clear light panels could be, glasses could be. I questioned it also, but it ultimately is up to the department head to determine where they want to go that. Okay.
This department is which?
Evans Plunge.
Okay.
You okay, Andrea?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Communications from the public. We have Beth Spitzer from Teapot Springs Beautiful regarding downtown corner pods.
Thank you. The reason why I am here today is because of the highway project that is coming through in a few years through town through 385. And obviously when that construction project happens, we realize that that's going to affect the pods. And our concern has been who is going to pay for that. And so my Vice President, John Adler, contacted the South Dakota Department of Transportation. He spoke to Chris Junt, who is with the road design section of South Dakota Department of Transportation. And he had this conversation with him. John actually used to work for the South Dakota Department of Transportation, so that's why I had him contact them. And John had kind of told us that he thought that there might not be an additional expense, but we wanted to confirm that for sure. And what Chris Junt told us was that if there's not much change to the pod design like it is now, it would actually just be included with the cost of the project. So that was very interesting to us. However, he said if there were features that were not normally with the pods now, like we added above ground things, such as special lighting or seating, then that could incur then an additional cost, and then the city would have to give funds for that. And so our number one concern, of course, with Keep Pods Beautiful is, first of all, that there will be pods when that project comes through. So that's our first objective. So if the city decides that they just want to keep the pod designs the way they are now, I mean, we will certainly make that work as we have for all the other years. But I do want the city council to think about, this would be the perfect time to be thinking about, do you want to improve how the pod design? Could it be improved? And of course, if you decide that that is something that you need to look at, then monies are going to have to be set aside to fund that. So that's why I approach you. And I have left this picture with Nolan before, and I'm going to let you guys pass it around. I know you got to see this earlier. But this is a pod design that I really do like. And it would mean, and I thought this was kind of interesting because in the presentation just before this, with the Black Hills State University group, when they did their presentation, they actually talked about benches in the downtown a couple times, about adding seating, making people feel invited to stay for a while. And so this design actually incorporates bench on the sides of the pod that are on the sidewalk side, of course not the curb side, but then it has actual seating incorporated into the design. It raises it up. So then also the advantage would be it would hold in the mulch, and so it's not running out into the street. So it's something for you to consider. And like I say, if you would decide to go with a design like that, then funds are going to have to be set aside, because it sounds like that additional design would mean the city would have to chip in.
Okay.
So I just want
Beth, I hate to be rude, but I have to do a public hearing at 7:10.
Sure.
You're welcome to come back up after our hearings.
Okay.
Yes, because I have a question.
Yeah, I apologize, I do have to follow that schedule, so don't leave.
Okay.
Thank you, I love the design, actually. Okay, our first hearing is on the proposed ordinance, Chapter 27-A0605, parking requirements.
Motion to open the hearing. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are having a public hearing now on parking requirements. Kim, can you give us a brief overview?
Brief overview, I've got 5 minutes. This is a chapter revision for our zoning ordinance under 27A. It's section 6.05. It's our parking requirements and basically the paving requirements for them. It has been brought to our attention whenever I first started working here that we had a section that required anybody within the city of Hot Springs, a business that had, or 3-family or greater of residential, that had a gravel parking lot, the zoning or code officer could go back to them and have them pave their parking area. The cost of paving at that point is very, very large. Some people with rather small businesses have rather large parking areas. There was a bit of I felt very uncomfortable with this. I felt that it was an unfair practice for people who had been following the rules, who did everything that they were supposed to be creating a viable business or multifamily residence within the city. And it was hard to come back to them after they've done everything they were supposed to and say, okay, now we want this. So we talked about it with our attorney. She advised us to remove it. She didn't feel that it was defensible in the courts if it was ever challenged. So what you have before you are those modifications. We did have a public hearing on this. In December it was opened at the Planning and Zoning Commission. In January it was closed and approved unanimously, and we had a full quorum at that meeting. There was only one other change that was added. It was just it was actually added because one of our council members was at the meeting and they asked for some purpose to the buffer requirements. So that if it ever came before the council that why we were asking for a buffer or not asking for it, you would understand the reasoning behind it. it gives a little bit more balance to the ordinance. I won't go through everything. You've had this for a while. I know a couple of you have been to the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings. I know that there are particular questions on specific lots. I'd like to request that those questions be kept with me in the office, and I can address those one by one as per individual parcels that might be needed, any clarification. But the ordinance is proposed as shown here in the marked up version. If this gets to the second reading, I will make any other changes that you have, and then I will give you a clean copy as well.
So is this the first reading?
We have the
This is the
first
public
reading
hearing.
under ordinances, item A here in
All
a
right, so
in a
this is
little
the
bit.
first reading.
No, this is the public hearing as
Okay.
required by
Oh,
our.
then we'll have another reading. Okay.
No, it's kind of weird because there's planning and zoning requirements and there's council requirements. And as a zoning ordinance change, it has to go through planning and zoning. That was one public hearing. Then for an ordinance change, you have to have the second public hearing, which is what we're doing now. And then it has to go through the first and second reading. So we kind of separated them in the.
Okay.
So we can have discussion during the first reading when we go
Yeah,
to
to keep you on
ordinances.
time.
To keep you on time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim. We'll
Sure.
see you in a
See you in a couple minutes.
All right, it is 7:15. Oh, I need to close the hearing. I'm closing the first hearing.
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I need to open the Pine Log bid hearing for the bids.
You need a motion to do that?
I don't think I do.
You don't.
I just need scissors, since we don't have a.
There you go.
All right. They are really sealed.
Oh, you cut it in half.
Yeah. Price just cut in half.
Are you gonna number those 1, 2, 3?
I will number them 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 of them. This one is for, I think they mean $126. Their dollar sign. Come on. Do you agree that they mean 126? I think they just didn't do their dollar sign.
I would presume.
I will take a 1,126, but I think is Terry here, Bloom? Okay.
I would presume that it's $126. It looks like it to me.
Okay,
That was Terry Bloom.
yeah. You'll see why we're questioning it when you look at it. Do you agree? The third opinion.
Otherwise, if you buy wood at that price also.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking it's not
A lot of trees in my house.
Yeah. Mark Orsmesher. Is George's his name?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay. Is submitting a bid for $40 a cord. Is it one cord?
No, I think it's more than that. I don't know the size of the cord, but it's a big pile.
This will be number 2.
The cord's not that big, right?
Cord is 2 foot wide, 4 foot high.
No,
Am I
4
right?
foot wide, 4 foot high, 8 foot long.
Okay.
Thank you.
But we did not, yeah, thanks. But we did not put down how many cords it was. So,
Do we know how many cords?
I
it
don't
is?
think we do.
I don't.
that's not how we did the whole
Hi.
pile. So, that makes it a little more.
We can open them and on the side later, like you did with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, see, this one says log pile.
So log pile.
Jason Happy submitted a $100 bid. He knows it's a pile. There we go. Number 4.
Double.
Gene Plant bids $129.97.
Can you say that amount one more time, please?
I would presume that
$129.97.
Thank you.
they're talking about 3 chords.
So even at 3 chords.
The $40 one is 120.
All right. Okay.
Did you say that we could table this
I have
till we
another.
know how much we're selling and bring it to the next meeting?
Yep.
And go for the lowest bid, I would guess.
Highest?
Highest bid.
Yeah, that's always highest.
We're getting money, we're gonna take
Okay.
the highest.
Thank you for the scissors. It is now 7:20. So we are going to go to the public hearing, temporary alcoholic beverage license application for the Winter Circle for a 4/16/16 wedding event.
Did you need a motion to table the bid?
I thought I did. Motion to table.
Second.
You need a second.
She just did.
All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed?
Thank you, Carol.
Okay, we will
Motion carried.
address those later with the motion carried on the tabling of the pine log bids. I need a motion to open the hearing.
Motion to open the hearing on the temporary alcoholic beverage license.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public hearing.
Did Kara abstain?
I abstain.
Yes, she's abstaining.
Thank you.
Anybody with a concern about alcohol at a wedding?
Make a motion to approve this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Thank you.
Motion to close the hearing.
I have a quorum.
Second.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you need a motion to open and close hearings.
Okay.
The mayor opens them.
Okay.
You just-
And now I will close them.
They're done.
And we're done with the hearings. So I will invite Beth back up if she's still here behind the podium. There she is. Thank you for your patience.
I didn't have anything else really to share on that subject, but I know I had a question, so I can maybe answer it.
I hope. There wasn't anything shown on that picture, but do you have any idea of what it would cost for each one of the pods to be done that way?
And that's a really good question, and I guess I don't feel that I'm the one that should do that. I think maybe the city engineer should do that, since it's a city project. I think that would be great to have an estimate done.
I think they're great looking, and especially with the curb around the front of them
And the bench.
and the bench around the back.
Oh,
That's a great idea.
building a garbage can, save 20,000.
Well, I don't think these are free. But
I don't think we've got 30 pods, do we?
how many pods do we
Nice
have?
try, though.
There are about 30.
Oh,
There are
really?
about 30.
There's a trash can in every pod.
Actually, there's corners like down by Glass Pro where there's 2 or 3 on one corner. That's why they add up so quickly.
But they wouldn't probably necessarily all need the extra seating as
Correct.
well.
Well,
Some
could have
pods, right, some
scaled
pods,
down.
like the one across from City Hall and on, across from the old VFW, now Daily Bread, like those on that side wouldn't need, that type of design. probably, but so it would be only, I'm talking about the ones on the actual.
Could you maybe propose exactly where you would like to see this type of design?
You know, and I guess I have a question. Are the pods, now, as I understand it from the last meeting with the highway, the DOT, they're not changing the layout of the road? It's staying as it is now, is that correct? Because at the several years ago when it was Don DeVries as mayor, at that time they were talking about changing the layout, so then we weren't sure if we were going to lose pods and pods were going to be changed, we weren't sure. So is it staying in the same location now? Is that how I understand?
Nothing is confirmed yet. They're still open for public comment. The DOT is open for public comment, and it is their project. But we, the city, are meeting with them later this month. And the more information that we have, especially about where you would like to see this design, you know, it's going to be a cooperative project. You know, a lot of our focus is on the water, sewer, you know, infrastructure types of things as well. So anything you can do to help us, you don't, you know, like you mentioned, not across from City Hall or by the waterfall, but where you would like to see this, then we can start working on how many there are and what the additional cost would be, and then we can go to the council when there's, you know, budget time to start. And I'm just proposing this, or just, you know, what we could do is then put aside X amount of dollars every year until that year in our parks budget or something like that to implement if the council decides to do that.
Well, I think where we have multiple pods on a corner, like down by Glassboro, that they be kitty cornered, one each, away from each other, not at all three of them.
Yeah.
But that's a good design, and I just think we need to get a dollar amount on what it's going to cost to.
A number, a quantity.
So
not 30, something less than 30, right?
yeah, it would be. And so so I understand that you would like me to come back with which corners you'd like that, but then am I to come up with, I mean, pricing?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
I would just like your opinion on where you would like to see something like this.
Okay.
Even if you don't give me a number, I love the idea. So I will definitely have no problem discussing this with DOT when we sit down with them. But I would like your perspective on where you think you'd like to see them.
Okay.
You can do that for
Yes,
me.
I can do that.
I can represent you in that meeting. I'd be happy to.
Okay. And when is your meeting? What date?
24th.
Tomorrow.
I need it about 10
1
minutes
o'clock.
back.
All right, so before February 24th.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I can do that. Then, is there any other questions about that? Okay, then I just do want to, while I'm here, I just want to give you an update on recycling and just let you know just some efforts that we, Keep Hot Springs Beautiful, is doing to support the city's adding of recycling as a choice, and again, we thank you for that. But we have 2 years ago, before all this happened, we had, as Keep Hot Springs People, had tried to get curbside recycling, and so we had been gathering names of interested people, and we had about 120 people on that list. So we have contacted all of those people. I just wanted you to know that, and told them that, you know, recycling is now available. And as I understand at last count, you have about 100 signed up. So. So I just wanted you to know that we were doing that on our end. And then secondly, we are considering actually having like door hangers produced like this that would hang on doors to tell people that recycling is available in Hot Springs, because what we're finding when we did the phone calls and just when I'm out in the community and people ask me, we're finding out that people still don't know that recycling is available. You know, there's sadly, you know, too many people don't subscribe to the Hot Springs Star. That's like our one avenue of getting information out. So if they don't subscribe, then a lot of them don't know. And so we're considering doing this. We have not decided. We realize that that's going to require quite a lot of volunteers. We're probably going to need about 20 volunteers to cover Hot Springs. So we're considering that, but I just wanted you to know that that is something we were considering. Would you have any concerns about us doing something like that?
Good idea.
I had an idea that I was making myself a note, so I don't want to promise anything, but what about a note on their water bill? Why can't we put a note on their water bill? We did that?
Yeah.
Okay. That their garbage rates were changing and recycling was an option, so.
Yeah, I just think but we've heard from some people that it's so small, but I definitely encourage you to do that, because,
Beth, I might just consult with the police department just to make sure that that would be something that wouldn't be an issue or received negatively by residents or something.
okay,
We want to, make sure everybody's safe that's going up to the houses.
sure.
So,
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Any other communications from the public? Okay. Going to go back up to personnel. Again, I added Amanda Jensen to item C. We can go through these one at a time, or we can do them all together.
Motion to approve personnel A, B, and C.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried for all personnel. Now I'm going to jump back down to ordinances. Item A, first reading, Chapter 27A.06.05, parking requirements. And Kim, thank you, Don, for getting us a new employee.
Thank you.
We're excited.
Motion to approve the first reading of Chapter 27A.06.05, parking requirements.
I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, or if you want me to.
I need a second.
Sorry, go ahead.
Did I get a second?
Second.
Okay.
Thank you, sorry. Jumped ahead there.
I was serious, I know.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. All in favor of the first reading?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Well, we can have the
And
discussion.
we'll have the discussion.
You can have the discussion before you vote.
Right.
So we're okay with the first reading, we'll have discussion. Kim is here again.
I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. I can give you some highlights about the things that we're changing. Basically, there's no changes to the what we're requiring new businesses to do. They will be required to put in all new pavement. For existing businesses, how our thought process was on this was that as businesses do better and better, they're going to want to improve. One of the things they're going to want to improve is pavement out in front, so they don't have to constantly be cleaning their front entryway. So that's a natural thing. But so we think that some people are going to go ahead and do new paving as soon as they start making money, where it starts becoming available to them. But for the people who actually go and are doing so well that they can expand, that there's some sort of an alteration, expansion to their business, whether they're adding on another use, where they need to add on a smaller section of building, adding other outdoor eating areas, those kind of things. All we're saying is that at that time, 10% of that project cost can be included to start moving you towards that pavement requirement. So, and 10% in some places will be pretty small as far as an expansion might go. Let's say they put an awning over at the Dewdrop Inn. An awning's not going to be that much, but they could do a small, maybe handicap parking space or something like that. But for somebody who's doing a full-blown addition, they're gonna have to go get financing and things like that, and that's an easier time where they can add in that tiny little bit of a 10%. We can make sure that handicap parking gets done. If an entryway, like if they need an apron to go onto the highway or to the city street, so that that edge of the pavement is protected, we can add it at that point. And we have a little bit of a adjustment time that we can work with the business at that point on what would be the best location. Usually it's going to be ADA or pavement preservation that's going to be the first thing that we're going to be going for. Other things that have changed, a lot of definitions. We had Sarah go through this, our legal counsel, and she just clarified some of the kind of the dotting I's, crossing T's kind of things. But the whole last section that required the existing unpaved parking lots and driveway was removed per her recommendation. So I'll take any questions that you might have.
I have some questions, but
Sure.
I think I'm going to call you with them because there's another reading rather than bore people with my questions now. I'll just call you.
And that's fine. And I know that Carolyn, you did ask about why we were, shouldn't we give the new businesses a break? And that's a good question. And in general, what we do is when we're looking at things is, if we gave the new businesses a break for creating a whole new structure, where they're coming in, building a new building and creating parking, we want them to do the high end, because if we start giving them breaks where they don't have to, we're never going to fill up our existing buildings that are vacant. If they can't afford to do the paving, then they could probably fit and work it out someplace else in town that has a vacancy. So it kind of all flows together with pushing people to the right direction. We want to fill up our existing buildings before we start building new buildings. And the few people that we have been working with, the few companies that are coming in that are looking at building completely new, assume that it's going to be parking, and they don't even ask, I mean, paved parking. So we certainly don't want to give them an out from that, too.
Like I said, I'll call you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
From the public?
Kim, I'm just wondering, is this proposed change then eliminating the paved parking or putting it on a graduated basis? I'm a little confused what's being advocated.
For new businesses that are creating a completely new structure, it would be full pavement required. For an existing business that's doing an expansion, it would be incremental. And for people who are just keeping their business as is and not expanding, they don't have to do anything unless their budget allows them to. And basically the way that we look at zoning is by small, long-term increments. Eventually we will get to the place we want to be, but we certainly, as a guiding document, we don't want the government telling you when and where you have to pave. Especially if you are an existing business and have met all the other requirements.
So if you're an existing business and you've met the other requirements, you are not going to be required to pave.
Correct.
If
That
you're
part
a-
was struck.
If you're a new business, you are going to be required to pave,
As long as you
And
do a
if
new
you're-
building.
as long as
You're creating a new building.
you're creating a new building.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're on a graduated basis.
Correct.
Isn't this going to be a little difficult to administer?
Actually, it's fairly simple. Basically, any new structure or any expansion would have to come through with a building permit, and at that time, you just work with the applicants on adding that 10% as a graduated and figuring out what would be best for their business even. Oftentimes, it's just having an apron in front of their door, handicap accessible space that'd be nearby that could create a little bit more accessibility for their businesses. That's often what the 10% can cover.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I'm kind of blocked by a podium to see here.
I just feel like that there's a huge gray area in there of what is considered as an expansion and what maybe wouldn't be, and then when you would or would not, then charge them a 10% or would not. And the people that already exist basically don't matter and they don't have to pave. Would we not offer them a time frame to do so? I mean, I feel like we're not holding them, the existing businesses, to the standards of our new businesses.
The problem is that if I come in with.
Grandfathering in, I would think.
Pretty much,
There-
that's
there-
really what we're doing.
There is, and there's a reason for that. There was at some point in our past history that it wasn't important. And the people who came in did good faith with the city. They came to us, got the business permits that they needed, they got the building permits that they needed, they did everything that they were supposed to. And now they're operating business. It's not the best time to run a business in Hot Springs, but yet we want to come back to them and say, now we're going to require you to pave, and paving is a huge, huge investment. The few people that Scott was able to go ahead and work in the past with, a number of them had to go out of business. That's not the way that we want to do business. Zoning is looking at a community over a long term. And although these increments may seem small, they will progress. If we are able to, I think the most important part of this aspect is creating an economic environment where our businesses can thrive. Businesses, if they're thriving, will automatically pave. They want that. It makes their businesses look better, it makes them more accessible, it makes them more attractive, and it's easier to maintain than constantly dealing with the dealings with gravel. So what we want to create is an ultimate environment where our businesses can thrive, and they'll be coming to us saying, we want to pave now. And that's the ultimate scenario that we want to have. As far as the gray areas of who gets it and who doesn't, it's very simple. If you want to, I can create an extra section, just a definition of what an improvement would be and define that. I can do that. That would be simple enough because it would be an actual physical improvement that would take space.
I guess I feel bad for the new businesses coming in. I mean, I personally would want every downtown business to be full. I mean, our downtown is, anyway. But, so for us to then say, oh, and by the way, you need to pay for $20,000, I mean, that is, to me, for a little business coming in, I'd be like, whoa.
Well, see, a little business coming in is not going to build their own business. They're going to move into an existing structure of which we have many to choose from. And at that point, then we're getting our empty buildings with new buildings with new businesses that can then work under those circumstances. And that's where we want to have our incubators. We want to have our incubators downtown where we have buildings. We really don't want to encourage people to build new buildings in our periphery while our downtown is still languishing with vacant buildings.
I see where you're going, and I can see it from both sides. I just feel like
well, and I'll tell you too,
penalizing almost the new people coming in because they didn't come in before today. If they would have came in before today, they would have had to pave, and after today, they don't have to. Or
the people who are building buildings right now, like Rod Watts, he's building a repair business. He knew he was going to have to. And he was just, it's okay, it's all part of it, it was all part of the budget. I have a national company I'm dealing with, never came up. They have no problem with it. So this idea of this being a big burden, for people who are building a building, nowadays it's a huge investment. And you're not going to have the smaller incubator businesses that are going to be trying to do that because it just takes too much capital. You really have to start incubating from a smaller standpoint with existing structures. So this actually allows us to have the larger buildings that are the people who are coming in and creating the whole building, doing the full package. They're the people that have the money to do so. The people who don't, we're going to be bringing them and embracing them in our downtown. And that's kind of how it goes because we won't succeed as a community unless our downtown's built.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, there's a person with a hand back there for quite a while.
Sure.
If you don't mind, Carolyn.
Just and I agree with Andrea, but I think there's quite a few assumptions being made, assuming that somebody can't afford to go into or build a new business. A lot of these buildings downtown that are empty are the sandstone buildings, and they're extremely hard to keep. Tax base, building a new business, you're bringing in more tax revenue.
So I just think
Well, I'm just
you're
not,
treading on an area where you're making too many assumptions.
well, I'm doing it based on 20 years of experience of doing planning work and working with developers. 10 years before that, doing project management in construction. And what we find is that this is just basically how people are developing their downtowns now. It's a very well-tooled planning tool to make sure that our downtowns are taken care of and that the new construction that happens is kind of a turnkey, it's full. One of the things that we want to do too, and it's always hard to look at an ordinance in and of itself kind of standing alone, but as we're doing this too, you're absolutely right, sandstone buildings have a huge problem with insulation, stuff like that, so we're working on other fronts. I've been talking with the state preservation offices, what kind of things can we do with there to help people with their bills? What can we do to reach out to those owners to make those a little bit more tight, I guess, to become a little bit easier to maintain and to actually have a business in it where all your profits aren't going into heating bills. And there are other things that go on with that. And although these assumptions may seem kind of pulled out of thin air, it's a lot of it is based on planning knowledge that has happened across the country, that we all get together and we share what works, what doesn't work, how do you increase the businesses in these vacant buildings. And these are all things that we're researching.
So one of the comments you had mentioned was, you know, and our hopes are that they would go and pave it. If you're requiring the new businesses from 2016 moving forward, all of those prior are grandfathered in. That does show a little bit of favoritism. You got these new businesses who are trying to bring in a new tax base, but yet they're required to do so.
Yeah, they are.
With the pavement as well. So in retro, what benefits are you giving trying to bring in new businesses to the community? If you're going to hit them right off the bat with, you're going to have to pay. Why don't you give the existing businesses who don't have that paved area a time frame of, okay, within so many years, you have to have it paved, instead of that assumption of, we're hoping you will.
How do I want to say this nicely? I can see that looking at it purely compared at an existing business to a brand new business, it doesn't seem fair because one is required to have paved parking and the other one is not. I get that. It all comes down to that element of good faith. If I come in, and that's supported in law. Whenever our lawyer looked at this, what you would describe, having that 5-year period to go ahead and pave your property, it can kill businesses. And it has. And what this does, and what our attorney said, is you can't go back. It's like a contract with somebody. If you have a business and you've come in, let's say I come in and I'm going to do a business, and I had a bakery 10 years ago. And I got all of my permits, I got all my building permits to make changes to my building, put a new roof on, got a permit for that, I pay my taxes, I got my state tax license, and I've got a small parking lot. I'm barely eking by because the economy's low, I only really do good business in the summertime, and now I have 5 years to pay for $30,000 worth of paving improvements. I'll close my doors and head up to Custer where they don't require me to. That type of, no, we're not having problems with new businesses. And I know that you're saying that to her, but literally the new businesses that we're having are having no problems meeting that because why? It's a requirement that's required all over the Black Hills, it's required all over South Dakota, it's required all over.
Is that required in their banking, finance and stuff, so they're already going in and qualifying for the stuff? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. It's just part of the, it's just one of those things that they know that they have to do. It's not even a topic of conversation when I talk to these businesses.
Okay, and you just referenced Custer. I'm just trying to understand this because
Sure.
you just referenced Custer.
Sure.
So would somebody be better off going and opening and starting their business in Custer? Because we don't want to run them off.
No, no, because they're required to pay new businesses in Custer.
They just said they weren't.
No, she didn't.
No, I didn't. I said that, I said if you're an existing business and you're telling me that I have to pave my parking and it's gonna cost me $20,000 to $30,000, I'll move. Than rather have to pay that. What I'd like to have my city do is create an environment where I can actually make money, start paving little bit at a time, have my government work with me instead of coming across as being authoritarian and saying, well, this is what we want, despite my financial situation, despite the fact that I'm trying to make a living, despite the fact that I'm trying to do all this in an environment that's not really hospitable.
So to save the city a headache years down the road, whether you're here or somebody else, the new council, whatever, comes on board, and so a new business comes in, just what we've dealt with in the past with the businesses who, people buy a business downtown and want to live on, that main level, et cetera. We've had issue after issue. So going into that, I really think you need to be careful so that you don't have any gray area to where you can end up with that card being played against the city of this favoritism, grandfathered in, well, this business was here, or the pre-existing, all that stuff.
But that is the nature of zoning. What you just described there is the nature of zoning. It basically says, as a governmental agency or as a municipality, this is the overall goal that we have for our town. What we have existing will protect. We'll protect those people and hopefully get the environment where they will grow their businesses. Zoning is not supposed to be punitive. It's not supposed to be authoritarian. It's supposed to be a gradual growth of a community. And the only way that it really grows effectively is through good economic development. And if you were here for the meeting beforehand for tourism, that's one step of it. We're working on the comprehensive plan. That's another area where we're going to be really involved in creating an atmosphere, creating to-do lists to make sure that our community is moving forward. This is just one little piece. This is one little tiny piece in the whole picture. And it's tried, it's true, and it's the way that zoning is really supposed to be administered in the long run.
Okay, we have another question up here from Carol Ann.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
This reminds me of the ordinance we dealt with before, the antique toy business, that woman, she followed everything, she'd gotten all her permits,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, she's told no.
Yeah. And do you remember why?
Go ahead, fill me in.
Because I had gotten an application from somebody who wanted an apartment right next door, just like her neighbor did, only I had no way of giving it to her. And so I turned her down, and she appealed to the city council, saying, why was she allowed to do it and I was not? And that's why we changed the ordinance, and that's why we got Bonnie on board, because she could just step right into that and become...
But if there were other businesses and there were other people that had lived in their basement.
But not with a building permit that was based on things that weren't in our code. And she was right next door. There was no way that I could have...
I know, I'm just saying that she had done everything, you know, and we're saying we're going to be accommodating to businesses and whatever, and then we're not.
So we
granted, we
formalized
changed
it.
the ordinance for it, but there was a whole room full of people in there that did not want that done. We did it, but there were quite a few
I
people
don't
against it.
remember there being a whole room full
Yes,
of
there
people
was.
that didn't
Well,
want
the
it.
council approved it,
right there said
therefore
no.
it's...
I can't remember a room full of people.
Yeah, me too.
I remember a room full of people, but they weren't all against it.
The majority that I recall hearing, Carl, were.
Just,
Kim, I can appreciate where you're wanting to go with this ordinance. The other question that I would have is, you know, over the years I have seen ordinances changed because of threats of legal action. Is our city attorney comfortable that a new business that is constructing is not going to be able to come and say, you're forcing me to pave, but yet this existing business is not forced to. I'm not going to do it, and if you force me to, I'm going to sue you.
yeah, I came...
Are we defensible here?
We are.
Okay.
I just came from Connecticut, which is probably one of the most litigious states in the country. And our ordinance was similar to this, where it allowed that grandfathering, but required new things to, and actually, you don't even want to go how far Connecticut goes with what they require new businesses to do as far as putting in their sewer and improving the sewer line down to the next junction so that it can control, I mean, it's just crazy. Yes, this is defensible in court. I feel 100% confident about that. Sarah has reviewed this. She feels confident with it. I feel very, very good with the language of this. It's not overreaching, but I think it does have some teeth to it.
Okay, can we move forward?
One more quick question to you. I'm not going to call you and ask you. 9, under B, I believe it is, for existing uses, excluding 1 and 2 family residences and business within a GC zone. Could that not read, and you'll tell me why, for existing uses and new businesses? Because these are specific for buildings that are already here. These are not, would not be new buildings, but they would be modifications to an existing structure.
Yeah, I could add new. That's no problem.
That might help new businesses.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay.
I can add that for the second reading.
All right. I don't know how the council feels about that. They may not agree with that.
Well, this is just the first reading, and modifications are allowed, so,
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
okay.
Question?
I had a quick question. You're saying that the old businesses, it'd be a hardship on them, they might have to close down if they have to do all this. But a new business wouldn't have the same hardships, plus
No.
another $30,000-$40,000 on their payment? That I think can be a hardship for them.
No.
Oh,
It
okay.
is,
Now they build it into their building plan.
it is
Have you
as
ever
part.
been in business in Hot Springs?
It is an overall cost, yes, but in a business plan, if a business is going to build a new building, they're going to have the same scenario at most other towns in this area, not all, but most other towns, and it's just a cost of doing business if you want to create a brand new structure. If it becomes a problem that extra cost for a paved parking lot would tip them, we have a huge volume of empty properties that we would be happy to help them find a location and work out a situation where they could function in that, where the parking would not be an issue.
Are these businesses downtown going to have to pay for these sidewalks that are being put in? Or is the city going to pay for them?
I'm not sure what that has to do with this ordinance.
Well, it's paving, they don't have a parking lot, so, you know, the
No,
sidewalk.
we're going
down
to try to
there.
keep on, we're going to keep on task, because this is complicated enough, so we don't need to get into sidewalks.
In other words, if it's like economic 101, when you start a new business this day and age, everything is incorporated in that loan, including parking lot, because that's a demand and something that everyone knows, including the banker, that has to be done.
Yes.
Now, if you were to put that on our business, God forbid, we would go under because we could not afford without a huge, that loan isn't there.
Yeah.
We're paying high interest rate
Because you're
to
just
put
doing that
in
one
a
piece.
parking lot.
Yeah, because you're just.
So when you start a new business, that's already incorporated. They know that. And especially if it's McDonald's. So.
That's well put, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna, thank you. And we'll have a second reading for law, whenever that is. Next meeting, okay. Resolutions. 2016-3A, resolution to establish 2016 part-time rates. They're in the package.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Minimum wage went up to $8.55 an hour. There's a big reason for that. Committee reports, admin and finance, Georgia.
The finance and admin committee met February 8th at 1. And most of the things are on our agenda that we're going to talk about tonight anyway, but I'll go over them a little bit. The facade for the grant improvement We discussed having a 212 fund to help support $10,000 for that. That's a recommendation we're going to give. We did not review, or we reviewed the police pay rate, but we did not do any change. We did review the updates to the city personnel policy, and there's quite a few that are outlined in red. I hope everyone read those. There was a proposal for Centennial Park Amphitheater and donations that have been received. And I believe, well, they're suggesting that they go out for bids. I believe we had like, it's going to cost like $138,409. And Misty and Nolan, you probably have to correct that.
No, that's not correct.
Yeah, I can't say that I know why that's there. Proposal for city funding of to for Hot Springs website, and it's going to be like $18 a month. The update to the city procurement policy, and that's all in your packet. And basically, so we can have in between funds added in there, and credit card bills and what we should use them for. And Misty's gone over quite a bit of that recently to make it a little bit better for her so she can get that done. We looked at a module, or we talked about a module for Banyan for payables, bills payable, and I believe it costs $595, but there's an annual fee for that, which was a little high, I thought. I'm not sure if that $2,000 is what I heard, but I hope that it's not that much.
There's no annual fee, Georgia.
What's that?
There is no annual fee. There's the one-time fee, Misty, of 500 and whatever.
One-time annual fee?
Yes, only.
Only, okay. Because I wrote down the wrong amount then. Okay. We have 2 people that had proposed for the audit. 2015 audit, and that was Keith Peterson and Donna Zinker. And we had 2 different amounts on that. We also looked at the internal utility usages for like the golf course plunge and our water and sewer that we use for the dump sites, and especially the ones for the sewer that we're using down by the Mueller Center, and they're approximately $600 a year, and we suggest maybe it went into general government costs for the sewer. And the rest of the funds for the expenses for like golf course and all that probably needs to be evaluated in a different way. The city employee cell phones were discussed, and we had an outline for all those people that are using those right now. And there was a little bit more discussion on who should have them or who shouldn't. They would also discuss the motion that was to take action for the with to advertise for the vote for the vacancy, and because it was a little bit unclear the way that was discussed and voted on, and I believe we'll talk about that probably later.
Yes.
So I'm going to leave it at that. Yes, and that's all I have.
Okay, and I know you're not doing airport yet, so I'm going to go to Kara for chamber, and we haven't met yet either.
We canceled our meeting for this month because it was in conflict with something Scott had going on, and also Preston, I believe.
Okay.
So we'll be meeting next month, 3rd Wednesday at noon, here at the Mueller Civic Center.
Okay, and thank you. The Waste Management District doesn't meet till April. Carolyn, have you made your meeting?
You did? Thank you. I don't have much to report. Mainly, and I'll have to ask Tara about this. What were the banners? How was it phrased? We're looking at new banners. Nolan presented it to us. Hanging themed banners on light poles to promote the water assets. Like soak the
well, we're discussing a slogan. It's Black Hills State University recommended a new branding and slogan for the community, and the SoCan, was it?
So what was
For those of you who
something?
were here earlier, Scott was going to let the cat out of the bag, but SoCan, like if you're there are several committees that met, the bid board, the tourism, the chamber,
City.
and the city. And what was discussed was, for example, if we have the Mammoth site, SoCan News Discoveries. It can also be applied to like Cascade Falls, SoCan the Mineral Springs, you know, or Evans Plunge, or soak in the sun at the Angostura Reservoir. So it always comes back to the water too, which was the biggest asset, which the Black Hills State University had pointed out in their study. So.
Thank you with that. And the Historical Commission, we voted on that and unanimously approved that, and that's really all I have.
Okay, thank you, Carolyn. Evans Plunge Advisory Committee.
Well, we have a meeting this Thursday at 7 o'clock upstairs at Evans Plunge, so I don't have anything to report for that, but if you have not been to Evans Plunge since we have closed for the 2-week remodel, please come by. You'll see a change, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, so that's fantastic. We also have 10 weeks of Tuesdays closed for continued touch-ups and little this and that. So anybody wants to volunteer their time, come down on Tuesdays.
Thanks, Kara. Parks, you guys, next time, right?
Yeah, we didn't meet, but Nolan, myself, and Tracy went over to Butler Park and kind of surveyed there where we're looking at maybe moving the soccer field, and what was decided is that Tracy will go ahead and get some facts and figures on it, and then we'll take it from there. We're just gathering information right now at this point.
On the dirt work, right?
On the dirt work, right.
Okay. And he's working on that.
And he's working on that, and that's about all that we have on Parks and Recs. I've been talking to Gerald Culligan, and we've been talking about the Arts and Craft Festival, and so that has to do with the amphitheater that's coming up that I think you have on the agenda.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
And then I talked to, on the other side of that, I did visit with Chris at the Mueller Center, and we talked about on the 25th, at 7 o'clock is the second to the last throwback movie, which is Farewell to Arms. So, and that has really been growing in popularity. It started where there was only like 1 or 2 people coming, and now we're getting like 10 and 12. So we really want to thank and a lot of calls, so we want to thank the community for supporting that. And it gives our veterans some place besides, you know, we don't have a lot of places, we have a lot of bars, but, you know, a lot of places for veterans to go that's not a bar, and this is just a wonderful opportunity for them. So I want to support
And that's
them.
the 25th at 7 p.m. at the Mueller Center?
Yes,
And what was
it
the
is.
movie?
Farewell to Arms.
Okay.
And then Barefoot Dance is every Friday, and that's another very popular thing. We also have people coming all the way up from Chadron for that. So, you know, that's 9 to 3 on p.m. on Fridays. The 28th, we have the Southern Concert Association at 7:30, and that's popular and gets filled up all the time. And we got 20 new chairs and 10 new tables, so they'll be going through those and putting those out to generate more money, the ones that they'll be replacing. So there'll be some that maybe somebody else that does need chairs will pick up. So that's all we got from that.
All right. Little culture going on here.
Yeah.
Always something to do. Kim, I'm going to skip you. Or do you have stuff?
No, just skip me. I was just going to wave to you.
Okay. Next time. Public safety, Tim.
Tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, City Hall. Public Works.
Public Works, we met on the 9th. We had a lady with concern about the sewer main in the alley on West 16th Street. And we've scheduled that we're gonna rebuild that this spring. It's that old clay pipe, and the trees have found where the sewer lines run. And needless to say, with that old clay pipe, it's full of roots and everything else. We had another water issue with the pressure. Talking about City Hall roof repairs. Rainstorm sewer on 22nd University. We're going to start working on that right quickly. We also discussed the veteran sign in Centennial Park. Evidently that's going to be moved. There's a drain problem on Garden Street that we're going to look at. And we did discuss the easement out at Hot Brook. There was a sign put up out there, and the gate was closed, and there was a no trespassing sign put out there. It's my understanding that that's going to be looked into and removed, Alice.
Okay. On the gate by the pump station?
That's, yes, on that land that we had by the pump station. That easement was all set up, and the only way that gate was supposed to be shut and locked is with a consensus of both the city and that landowner. Well, evidently somebody, I don't know who it was, has decided to put a gate in there, and it was locked. And there's also a no trespassing sign out there, which you can't really put a no trespassing sign on public land. It's just hard to do.
Okay.
So we're going to look into all that and see if we can get that straightened back out again. I was out here a few months ago and it was all unlocked and there was no sign. So I don't know what happened in the last month or so.
Okay. We'll look into that. Thank you. Is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Nothing going on at the golf course, and Andrea will give a report next.
Yep, we're just working with the contracts. They discussed a little bit of changes they're going to be doing and updating with their lighting and
Volunteer fire department.
Oh, yes,
Let me
sorry.
finish. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so contract, we're working on that with some different issues, working those out, and they're updating some lighting and doing some additional updates to both of their buildings, and more to report next week.
And we'll discuss the contract at their
After the next
March meeting.
Yep.
Okay. And we did make changes as they requested, so it'll be more like a final review.
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to old business, discussion and possible motion to approve updates to the city personnel policy, which is in your packet and highlighted and read. The changes were highlighted.
I would make that motion.
I'll second.
Yeah, second.
I think Tim beat you, Georgia, but
Okay.
discussion? There's a lot of discussion before. Are we all happy now?
We're happy.
Let's not get carried away.
Any other discussion?
We're happy to appoint.
Okay. All in favor of the, all in favor of the,
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion carried. The changes to the personnel, city personnel policy. All right, item B, discussion and possible motion regarding City Council Ward 2 vacancy.
I would make a motion that we leave that vacancy vacant until after the next election.
I would like to interject a little bit on this before we...
I have a motion.
Why don't we discuss this stuff
You have to
before we
have a
make
second.
motions?
You have to-
Robert
It's
made
not
a
Robert's
motion
rules.
for you.
I'll second that.
And it's not Robert's
You
rules.
can make a motion to table it, but then there's no discussion at all.
Okay.
So,
And
So
your
I need a
motion,
second to his motion.
Tara,
You did,
and to
okay.
be clear for my minutes, your motion was to not fill it till the next
That's correct.
election.
That was seconded.
Now,
So I need discussion, and then I will do a vote on that motion.
Here's what I've found out since, is I do know since part of the discussion last time was the fact that there was no one interested in taking the position. However, I have been approached by a gentleman that says he's very much interested in that position. So I told him I would bring it up this evening. Now my personal, and I discussed this with him also, is that what I would like to see is that we not fill this until after March 30th. Because all the applications for that position have to be in by then. If at that time there's only one, then I would entertain that one person be nominated in to fill the position. He would still have to go through the election. He'd still have to go through the election. But that way he would be, you know, rather than making him sit there for a couple of months to go through an unopposed election before he gets on the council, I don't see that, you know, that benefits anybody. So that's what I would propose, is that we, you know, don't completely vote this down as that we don't want to fill it completely, but that we, if at the end of March, if we only have one person that has put in an application for this open, then we could go ahead and appoint him at that time if we want to.
Is that a modification to my?
I would like to do that if you would.
I'll accept that.
Tim, I understand where you're going with this. Has this individual expressed any indication that they would be taking out a petition to run for the office?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
I asked him specifically about that, and he said that he was very much interested in looking at it. However, even if you take out a petition and you win the election, you don't have to accept the position.
If he takes out a petition and he is the only one, there will be no election for Ward 2.
That's right.
If you delay on appointing this individual until after the petition period is closed, and he does not file a petition, is that saying that you're putting him in office for 2 years?
No.
That's what I'm hearing.
No, the council would have to approve that.
That isn't what we're saying.
Would it be just then wait until the end of March to see what happens? And just leave the position vacant until then and readdress it at that time?
That's what I would like to see. You know, if he puts in put in the position, why, if there's just one person, let him have it.
Why don't you rescind your motion and let him make a new one? That's going to be very convoluted.
Or will be a front page of the paper yet again.
Right.
You can modify his motion, though, it just has to be reseconded, right?
Well, repeat that motion then to us. What is it?
And you accepted it? You accepted his modifications?
Yes.
So will you repeat what your motion then is?
The motion is to not fill the Ward 2 vacancy until after the petitions are due back in at the end of March. And the one person that is interested can be appointed. And if that person runs for the position, he would be, if he ran unopposed, he would automatically get the position. But this is only for the period from the end of March till June 7th till the election.
And if you have several people fill out a petition over the course of March,
then
the council
going to be an election.
Then there will be an election, but will the council appoint one of the people that are interested to fill the interim time period?
Why not? Why wouldn't you?
So
I'm totally confused.
That has nothing to do with my motion.
I understand that, Carl. I'm just saying, if you're basing your motion on the fact that only one person might be filling out a petition, what if you have several people?
I'm not basing my motion on
Motion
that.
is to leave it vacant till after March 31st.
With the understanding that you've got one person.
Forget about filling it.
I
Let him
understand that.
restate his motion, okay? And then we'll have a discussion. Please restate your motion.
My motion is that this position for Ward 2 will stay vacant until the end of March.
Period.
Just period.
Okay, stop right there, just period.
And if
I agree.
Don't continue.
I have been approached by
I will
people
second
interested,
Yeah,
just to let you know.
just,
Well,
They
I'm
have more
on
than
board
just
too,
your-
and
Have they
nobody's
come
talking
forward?
but the one
They have
guy.
not come.
They don't, when
Are they
did they
coming
come
forward?
forward? Why would they come forward? to this
Anytime,
meeting?
Carol Ann, I've
You
had people
voted
come
against not
forward.
filling the position, why would they come forward?
You did not vote to not fill the position. No, you didn't.
I made a motion to do it at this meeting, and this council
No,
voted
that was
no.
to advertise it.
No, and I
Yes,
will
it
get
was.
my computer out and we will listen to me because that is incorrect. It is on video, exactly the motion I made, and it's in the minutes here. So don't tell me what my motion was.
I don't think you know, but we'll
I do
move
know what my,
forward.
Misty, do I know what my motion was? Just a minute.
It
I
was
just
to
don't
fill
think it
and
matters.
It was to
advertise.
To advertise.
To
No.
fill the position and advertise for the opening.
I feel like we're getting out of line, and I just think we should get back to it.
Here-
That didn't mean we
That's what
voted
it
for
was.
Misty just agreed.
Carol Ann, it doesn't matter anymore,
Then why are
please,
you telling me?
because I listened to it.
Folks, you have a motion in front of you. Is there a second?
I second that.
Vote.
Do you understand what you're voting
would you
on?
read the
Because
motion
you didn't
again
last
that's
time.
before us?
Misty, could you
Be
please?
I understood it last time.
He
too.
Then
modified.
why is it an issue still?
You're the one that brought it up.
All in favor?
Aye.
I was
No.
asked to reiterate the motion, if I can.
I'd like it reread so we're clear on what we're voting on.
So the first motion was to not fill the city council Ward 2 vacancy until the next election. After our conversation, the motion was modified by Ashley to not fill the Ward 2 vacancy until after petitions are received.
Well, end of March.
End of
End of
March.
March.
That's the deadline for petitions. I'll put end of March.
Right.
End of March.
Period.
Period.
And I second that.
So that's what we're voting.
Is there any other confusion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed. You have to vote yes or no. You can't abstain unless it's a
No.
conflict of interest. So, no.
I need a roll call.
Carl Ashley?
Yes.
You need a roll call.
What were you calling me?
Tim Tesher?
Yeah.
Georgia Holmes?
Yes.
Kara Hagan?
Yes.
Andrea Kramer?
No.
Krista Spillane?
Yes.
Caroline Schwarzenbach?
No.
Okay. Have enough guesses?
So motion carried. And we'll address this again the first meeting in April. All right, new business. Motion to approve temporary alcoholic beverage license application for the Hot Springs Vault for the Taste of Hot Springs event at the Mueller Center on the 12th of March.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discussion and possible motion to approve contract 2016-4, City of Hot Springs and Barnyard Veterinary Service Agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Yes, I do have some discussion on that. In the current contract, it doesn't really say, what happens to the animals. I mean, Barnyard actually keeps them 3 to 5 days, from what I understand. And they're currently calling Battle Mountain Humane Society and saying, hey, we have a dog, because they're a no-kill shelter, and they're picking them up. But they have to pay $120.
The Battle Mountain does.
Battle Mountain.
Yep.
To pick up that dog. So, I guess they have an understanding of a relationship that they will call rather than just euthanize the pet. And it's not written in here anywhere, and I'd like to see that they do at least give that opportunity to Battle Mountain to, pick up the pet. And
Without paying?
well, I guess I don't really understand.
Just so you know, if they don't pay, the city pays. So that means that all city the city taxpayers have to pay Barnyard Veterinary for the room and board, for whatever you call it, boarding for that animal, and then Battle Mountain resells it.
So how much does the city pay
If it's
to
euthanized.
euthanize a pet?
If it stays there the 3 to 5 days, it's I don't remember the exact amount, but it's less.
Well, could that amount be taken off? Because we would have paid that anyway to have the animal euthanized, so can that be deducted from the amount that goes to the, keeping the animal going to the battle?
Room and board is room and board, whether they're euthanized or not.
Right, but the part that the city would have to pay anyway, have to pay it anyway.
$300, is that what you're talking about?
No, that's a
No,
monthly flat
no.
rate, the boarding. fee.
What the contract is just
Boarding
the
fee is
monthly,
like $10.
they're separate, the payment. There's a monthly payment, I sign a check for them just providing the service. They provide 4 kennels, they work with our ACO, so it's just providing the service. Now, if there's a dog actually boarded there, we are charged room and boarding at a certain rate per day, don't remember it off the top of my head, but they have to be paid for that.
So I guess,
It's supposed to be paid for by the owner of the animal.
What is Battle Mountain paying for
well,
in that?
Battle Mountain is paying the $120 to pick up pet,
What is that for?
just to keep the pet alive, basically.
No, but I mean, what are they being charged for? What's an itemization of that $120?
I'm really
The
not
room and
sure.
board and
It
feeding.
depends on how long the animal's there, it's not a flat rate.
So my question would be, I guess, if the city is paying $100. If, I'd like to research that, because if the city's paying $100 and Battle Mountain is paying $120 to keep it alive, why wouldn't they just pay $20, you know?
I don't know where that number's coming from. the
I think it's
120.
worth looking at. I would like Sarah to look at it and see what she can find out.
I would
We're
just
trying
like
to get
to-
ourselves involved in an agreement that was made by somebody that we don't have anything to do with.
I guess mine, just
Well, we do
my
if we're paying
concern,
money.
my concern was that does the $300 need to be increased or decreased, and are what we paying them covering their cost? That was my, not into the
Right.
into the rest, to the next step, but just to review the $300 per month cost that we're currently paying them.
Right.
Is that
For
a
the
legit-
service.
But is that covering their costs that they're doing? Is that covering their cost for us, or is
That's
it not?
just
Should
like
it be increasing or decreasing, or has
Well, the
anyone?
monthly rate, the monthly fee is just for them to provide the service, period.
So is it covering the services that they're providing for us?
No,
No, just so that we can take animals there.
Because we can't anticipate how many animals we're gonna have.
Correct, but there's got to be an average of how many animals have been taken. If really their expenses after hours and all that, it really cost them $400.
They
for to
charge
take
us
care-
$400.
No,
They,
they would
if
charge
they
us
cost it,
$300.
if they,
Over and above?
it's, yes, isn't it over and above? That's just their monthly fee. They get
Correct.
it regardless,
Correct.
whether it's the 1 dog or 10 dogs.
Correct.
But they charge us charges for the animal that's there, above that.
Okay,
I just feel like I need more
you
information.
want to table it?
I would like to table it, to get
I'll
more.
second.
Trying to help Barnyard.
There's 2 different fees.
Right,
One
and I-
is a monthly fee,
exactly.
period. The other one is based on how many animals are there.
And I don't think you can table it at this point. We've had a motion and a second, and we're in discussion, right? We can't table it
Yes,
at
we
that
can.
point. We can.
Yes, they can.
I've got Robert's Rules of Order. I'm parliamentarian for the state of South Dakota for the Republican Women, and I looked it up, and I know I'm correct.
Then
You have
what
to
is
table it at the beginning.
But you can't discuss it until then.
And you can't discuss the table motion. Anyway. I looked up, I almost brought the book.
She's correct. We cannot discuss a tabled motion, and it was not tabled.
It was not tabled. So I guess you could vote not to.
Well, the council can decide what they want to do based on any further discussion. Previous discussion or any further discussion?
Can she still look into it and come back to the council and
Yeah,
ask for?
and I'm not against Barnyard Vet in any way. I
Don't
just
either.
like
I
to
just
have
wanted
some
to
more
know if it was covering their
information
costs.
here.
That's all. I'm okay to approve.
That'll
We have a
not
motion.
part of the contract.
We have a motion and a second, let's vote on it.
Okay, so this is a contract we've had year over year. All in favor of continuing the contract with Barnard Veterinary?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
No.
Motion carried.
I feel like
Who was
I
the other no?
need- I feel like I need more
Information.
information.
Still have a motion carried. This is 5-2. And it's always something that we can continue to look at.
Yep, we can still get more information.
Okay? All right, item C, discussion and possible motion to approve the replats or the combining plats of those listed here in the Boulder Falls edition.
Motion approved, this is part of the settlement agreement.
Georgia seconded. Any discussion? Should be fairly aware of this one. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain.
Thank you. Motion carried. This, item D, discussion and possible motion to approve plat of golf course 84.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain again, Misty.
Thank you. Motion carried. Item E, discussion and possible motion to approve the facade improvement grant program.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
In here it talks about, under grant funding policies, underneath of page, second page, yeah, no, 2 maybe? It talks about, it just kind of contradicts, and I guess I'm just not clear, where it says grants periods will cover twice annually with the first grant deadline, da-da-da, and it says up to $5,000 will be granted in each period. Then below, it says the maximum amount granted per project shall be $3,000 with a grant minimum of $300.
So more than one applicant can receive funds.
Right. That was discussed at the admin.
So 5,000 total will be given away each period if there's 10 people applying or 2 people applying. Okay.
Or 4 people applying.
Yeah, and I think that maximum doesn't necessarily mean they'll give it all out either.
No.
Because there'll be a committee.
There will be a-
to decide.
And who is the committee? I guess, where
We
is that?
haven't approved this yet, so that would be a next step.
Okay, that was my next statement. Who's on the committee and where then do the funds come from?
We had some 2 additional sales tax, we had about 90 something thousand left over at budget time that we were using as a cushion. That's where we anticipate using this money.
Second penny sales tax.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a 2-1-2 fund.
it's our additional sales tax.
212.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's a great name, by the way. Just throw that out there after discussion is over.
We'll take positive comments. Thank you.
I'm very glad to see that.
All right, item F, discussion and possible motion to approve updates to the City of Hot Springs procurement policy.
So move.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Changes highlighted in red.
And it just contradicts itself when it talks about city council approval. Is this that right one? And then where it says common council. Does that mean the same thing?
Same thing.
It just is contradicting itself?
Oh, it's not contradictory,
No,
it's
it's
the
the
same
same.
word.
It's the same.
But it's just not, okay, so you're saying
We could
terminology
change,
is the.
we could be
Okay.
consistent in the terminology.
And then when somebody is not purchased, if it goes out for 3 bids, normally, or it says in here that if there's only one vendor that makes a water bottle and there's nobody else that makes them, then we just accept the only one vendor? Do we not send out the option and to get basically a no bid from another vendor and stating in writing that says, I do not make this water bottle, or how does that work? According to this, it says we don't.
Sole source provider would be more like, if, for instance, what Georgia talked about for our fund accounting software, getting the module that we can't even go out for bid for that anywhere else. It's something we're already using, and that's the only person that can provide that to us. Most software comes like water bottles.
Like that one is specific for what we're
Right,
using.
I do what you're saying.
That's also that is covered when we advertise for bids, because we have to put it in the paper, I understand, that it has to be advertised, even if we know that there's only, because we did know that there was only one guy made a certain piece of equipment until we went out for bids, and then by golly, there was two of them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item G, discussion and possible motion to go for bids for the Centennial Park Amphitheater. Bid opening scheduled for 3/21.
Motion to go out for bids.
Second.
Discussion?
Could I ask a question how it became from a pavilion to now an amphitheater?
Well, you can use either word. I mean, it's just a word.
So there's no, the designer is in your packet. Call it whatever you want.
And I apologize, I don't really know the whole etiquette for this, but I guess my question was, I guess to go way back, did we as a council approve that first of all we wanted one of these, or that we were going to get one of these before we go and start getting bids for it? Was it, I know it went to all the other committees, it looks like on here, and everybody else has talked about it, but did we as a council say, yep, let's go forward, and yes, let's, that they're doing?
Well, that's what we're doing right
It kind of feels
now.
like we've already missed all that spot,
We talked about it during budget time.
Nolan talked about it during budget time.
We talked about it during budget time.
Yes, you did, and you also eliminated that money from the budget
Funds
at
out of
that
it.
time.
Right.
Yes, we did.
And it's not, the funds are not there. It's went to the bid board, it's went to the admin and finance, and it's not in Parks and Recs, because we pulled it out of Parks and Recs.
So why are you opening for bid?
And it was brought to the parks with the idea to bring more business into Hot Springs by having events there every weekend. It kind of comes in with the South Dakota recommendation of bringing more businesses and having something going on, so that,
South Dakota State.
yeah, thank you.
The city center idea with Black Hills State University.
Right.
May I ask two questions?
Sure, of course.
Okay, question number one, is an amphitheater a part of the Parks Master Plan that the council
Yes, it
accepted?
is. It's on page 66 under Centennial Park.
Okay, second question is, where is the money coming from? This was eliminated out of the budget back in August.
You wanna?
If the council decides to move forward and have the bids be let, they're still not agreeing to build it. If we get to that point, then we have some alternate funding sources already identified for the project, and the additional money will need to be sought from our fund balances. So money is not appropriated in this year's budget for it, but can be from our available fund balances if determined appropriate by the council.
With the amount of things that had to be cut from the budget that were really necessary, and then to have this come in long after the budget was accepted.
The budget was made to balance our revenue and expenditures. We do have available balances in funds that can be utilized.
That could have been utilized for other things and weren't, because you were
You're
holding them in
absolutely right.
reserve.
That's a
I guess I want to make myself clear, it's not that I don't think it's beautiful and that it would probably be a great addition to Hot Springs. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I feel that the funds that we took out of the budget at the time could be used to either help the plunge that could definitely use it, and we could allocate those funds and be moved over to the plunge, or we could buy golf carts and move the funds over to the golf course and go that way too. I just don't feel that this is something that the city needs at this time. I'm not saying it's not pretty, it's very pretty, I like it. I just don't feel that our funds, and I also feel that just because we have money left over, I don't feel like we need to spend it.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, and now, I would like to say why I'd like to have the amphitheater or the pavilion or whatever you want to call it, is because for 5 years we've had rally and we've seen motorcycles come through our town and not stop. We've seen tourists go through our town and not stop. If we had an amphitheater or a pavilion and we had an event there going on every single weekend, all through the spring, all through the summer, and all through the fall, which, by the way, some of those things would be empty storefronts in downtown area. You could provide negative experiences, so if we could maybe have something going on, someone might look over and say, you know, I could maybe buy one of those and bring some businesses into downtown. We also were talking about having yoga in the park. We were talking about having something during rally. I think there's a whole list of things that Nolan talked about. The Boys and Girls Club, Halloween, fitness in the park, Main Street Arts and Crafts. We want to tie it to the 40th anniversary, and actually the amphitheater and the pavilion, whichever you want to call it, was a parks, or not a parks, but a arts and craft project. They started with bringing water to the park. They started with bringing electricity to the park. They started with that one pad on the park, and this would be, if we could build this and have it done by the time, that would be the 40th anniversary that we've had arts and crafts in our park. So it would be a great plus to tie it in with that. And we could bring South Dakota contest and meet and greet, entertainment for Mrs. South Dakota and the parade, the full moon dance, rallies, concerts, beer gardens, craft beer festivals. We could have, which apparently we like a lot of beer and alcohol because we always approve those right away, so I think we could have some of those going on. Civic organizations, church choral, performances, fundraisers, food events such as cook-offs, maybe chili cook-offs. We could do all sorts of things in that park, and this amphitheater would just be a focal point. It would be a permanent construction, and I think it would bring a lot of business to our, it would be the same thing that South Dakota students just said, that there's nothing to do here. Well, let's do something here.
Krista, I appreciate all of that. Those arguments were all made back in August at the budget hearing, and the council decided to eliminate the funding for it. Where is the money coming from?
212 funds. We've got support from the bid board of $10,000. We have $800 that's pledged by the Arts and Crafts Board. And we have a $45,000 that we got this year from selling a liquor license.
Carl, you
the total cost.
The council eliminated the funding.
The 41,000 wasn't in the budget.
I'm going to let Jeannie, who's been holding her hand up for a while, talk.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for letting me speak, but people have the right to change their mind. That's a human right. I've done that many times. Thank you for excusing me when I've changed my mind. The next thing that I want to say is South Dakota Tourism, we just got done seeing all these people do this huge marketing study, and we are so grateful for it because that would cost normally a lot of money. They're telling us, do things downtown, not right out here, but do things right downtown. That is what's selling tourism. Now, you might think tourism's overplayed here, but honest to God, that's where our dollar's coming from. That's where anybody who has a restaurant is going to make money. Of course, hotel, motels, gift shops, new businesses. That's where our dollar's coming from. They're saying, do what you people, because that's what people are looking for, and they'll stay longer. So the BID board really looked at that, and we're on board. The really most important thing I think I want to make, though, is such a small little idea, like light up your town. Seems so stupid in kindergarten-y, you know, really primal. But I'll tell you what, that momentum, and it was because of all of you people here supported it. The city support, they were on board. People downtown, the people from several organizations got on board, supported it. This is our momentum, people. We have never had this kind of momentum since I moved to Hot Springs. If anything, we've had nay, 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 nay. You can't do it, you can't do it. Why are you doing it? Let's get on board and do that momentum. Let's keep that passion. They're out there knocking on the organization doors, and they're liking the idea. Let's get it done, because I'll tell you what, we need to have things in order here in our downtown. Spruce it up, make it a little prettier, so we get people to come in and like staying. What makes money is not our sales tax in the people that live here. Please remember that. We gotta juvenate. And I'm all for all sorts of ideas, but this one made sense to all of us on the BID board. Thank you for supporting it.
Thank you. Wes, did you have a comment?
Well, I just was wanting to comment on what Chris was saying there. About 99% of those things that you said could happen at the amphitheater could happen right here in this building that is struggling.
Well, this building right here doesn't stop people as they drive through town west.
It could.
Well, it's not even a part of the main part of going through town.
Okay. Well, build it and they will come is what you're saying.
But there is other things we can do here.
But there is already
Mr. Romney.
Just a quick question. Why don't you guys take the money and make the Evans Plunge handicap accessible like we were supposed to from the get-go? Is it handicap accessible?
Well, that's not really going to bring, you know, the people that are going to come to Evans Plunge are going to be coming to Evans Plunge. And it's also being worked on.
There's actually other things going on with that card. They're not formalized yet, but with the plunge, your specific suggestion.
I guess right now, I'd like to say that the motion was to whether we go out for bids or not. We don't even know what this is going to cost us.
It is called discussion. So
I think maybe we ought to just go on and are we going to go out for bids or not?
I'm going to let one more person speak and then we'll vote.
I want to say something after he's through.
Okay.
Maybe I'd like to say something.
No.
All right, Gerald, Caroline, Georgia, and then we're done.
Okay, as co-chairman of Main Street Arts and Crafts Festival, definitely we would support the improvement down there in the park. Yes, definitely celebrating 40 years. This goes way back to Buell and Art Donnell. Started it bicentennial year. And yes, we do have a line item in our budget, and they're headed that way for 40 years for park improvements. Carl just said, yes, we would like to contribute some money toward that. We're also having some other problems trying to bring some entertainment to town, so we've got to stretch our dollars out that way. But our concern, if okayed by the council, is will the project be completed by the Arts and Crafts Festival? If you okay.
Well, our vote is to even go out for bids right now, so we can't answer that.
And we talked about that before, Gerald.
Hopefully.
We also have a concern, just a little bit of concern, if we have a little input when it comes to some of the design, because maybe that would take some of the price up of the materials too. So yes, we're definitely supportive.
Thank you. Carol Ann.
I'll be brief. I think it's beautiful. I agree with Andrea, and I don't think it's a bad idea. There's something like this in Crawford. My question is, you know, we've had a 2020 report. There was nothing in that about anything to do with something like this. That doesn't mean a new good idea can't come along that we incorporate into what we're doing. But we've had people in that 2020 that were most interested in the river. There's a plan, Tracy has it drawn, I've had it for years, to do some really good things in the river that's right in the middle of town. People wanted dog parks. We have a half-finished Mammoth on 79. There are a lot of good ways we could spend money. This can just jump ahead, you know. You all want to do that, you know, it's a good idea. But there have been other ideas that other people have had. And the parks, we're supposed to, the tall grass, we paid, what, $40,000?
17.
All right, $17,000 for their proposal. And it's funded by grants. We don't have any grant money for the parks yet this summer. I checked with Misty today about that. So we don't have any money to do anything with their park plan. I just have questions about spending the money
Well, there is a
on
parks
this.
budget, so.
Do you have money in the budget to fulfill this year's park plan?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we do. We're working on the bathroom for Brookside.
So you got the money for
Yes,
that?
we do.
Good.
And we are working on the moving the dog park. That's something that's already in the works. And we are working on the soccer fields up at Butler. And of course, always, anybody is always welcome to come to our Parks and Recs meeting.
So you have the money for all these things?
We're working on the bathroom.
But do you have the money for these
Yes, it's been budgeted.
Now, I think she's referring to the list she just.
Yeah, the list I just gave you. The list what came from the public.
Yeah.
Right. That's my only comment.
So our unfinished Mammoth is on private property, and I think that's out on 79.
It is. I'm just saying it would benefit the whole. It would benefit the whole community.
But that is
Okay, I'm gonna let Georgia.
They're taking contributions.
Were you
Okay,
done?
I'm here. I get that Jerry answered a lot of, one of the questions I said I wanted to be sure that we have their group involved in designing this. I'm not necessarily approving of what we have here for design, but I am in favor of putting the amphitheater in with these funds because they are donated and they are a separate income for us, so that I don't feel it's taxing our budget. And so if our parks group with Jerry can work with Nolan, I believe he brought this design to us, but I can't necessarily say that's what I would propose, but if he can work with them, I would approve that.
Yeah, Georgia, in fact, Gerald and I talked about that, and one of his concerns is that the current design that we have doesn't amplify, it doesn't push the sound out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
that's what I was concerned about.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and perhaps maybe when we should have a couple of different designs and maybe even get the public involved if we wanted to for some designs. But the thing is that we are running into a time limit if we're going to tie it to the parks or to the arts and crafts 40th anniversary.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I know we need to do something down there because the sound doesn't go in the right directions, and it's just dangerous when we have rain and all that. So that's all I have to say.
So what I talked to Gerald about is if we can just get this out on bids, we can always tweak the design and maybe even help bring down the cost.
I have one quick thing to add too, aside from the Black Hills State University study with the town center, like Rapid City as a town center, you know, they've
dramatically increase their traffic through their downtown area, their tourism, I think that it would be good for our businesses downtown to have that city draw, on Main Street that shows us something's happening in the community. And not only that, but the community engagement groups have been meeting, over 33 groups, close to 350 people, I think now. And this is something that's come up with that group as well. And bringing into all those things, Carol Ann, that have been mentioned in the past. That group didn't leave anything out that was mentioned in the past. They incorporated all the ideas, and that's something that they're kind of working on as well.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. I would call a vote.
Are you adding something new, Kim?
I just wanted, can I just make a quick comment on that? Is, one, do you know what the cost is? And two, I've raised several $1,000s over the events that I've done to bring in a splash pad. Is there any way we can incorporate a splash pad? There's $5,000 over there.
3,600?
Huh?
3,600?
No, there's new. There's
You are welcome to come to City Hall and we can look at that. But
yeah.
I'm leaning towards 3,600 or 3,800 collected for the splash park.
I'll have to look at my last deposit sheet from.
Okay, I'm gonna stick
But
with
anyways, can we,
the item.
can you add that down there so that we can incorporate our.
Well, I have to go by what's on the agenda and the motion and the second that I have for tonight, which is just whether the city can go out for bids or not for an amphitheater. So I have to keep us focused on that for tonight, for the vote.
However, could she put it on the agenda next week or next 2 weeks?
Sure, but I'm gonna do a vote right now on whether the council will allow the city to go out for bids for the amphitheater in Centennial Park. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
I heard one no.
No.
Motion. Motion carried. Okay, discussion and possible motion to accept sealed bids for the 2016 haying at the airport.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Item I, motion to approve agreement with Fall River County for 2016 election.
Motion to approve.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, I would like to just combine J through N. They're all travel requests that you have in your packets.
Motion to approve.
Oh, second.
So we are approving, or we are voting on all travel requests, J through N. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. I wanted to ask, these are all.
Discussion?
Okay, there, thank you. These are all budgeted items, I would take.
Yes, they're all within the budget.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
I would just like to make a comment. It looks like the police department has attached their itinerary, which clearly lays out what they're needing for lodging. I see that the one for Tracy Bastion and Cole Richards, I have no idea what they're doing, or nothing's attached for any sort of itinerary. So I guess next time something is sent to the council, could we make sure that itineraries are attached? Thank you.
Now we can vote.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Misty, Finance Officer report.
Oh, wow. I'm going to keep this short because it's been a long
Yeah.
meeting. We have our South Dakota Municipal League District 9 meeting coming up on March 23rd. Some of you have RSVP'd with me. It's at Curryberry Winery at 6 p.m. I believe March 23rd is a Wednesday. This is an opportunity for mayors, town presidents, council members, city officials, and guests to renew old acquaintances, meet some new ones, learn about legislation, and visit with a variety of representatives from state agencies. And so just a reminder, to anyone interested, let me know if you're going. Been working on the 2015 financial reports so I can report the financial condition of the city to the council. I am going to be requesting a 30-day extension from DLA. By law it's required the first meeting in March that I present that. I'm not quite ready for that. So standard process is to get an extension from DLA, and I've requested that. So hopefully around the first meeting in April, if not the second, then we'll be presenting those financials. Just wanted to clarify something that was clarified in the newspaper today. If anyone is interested in any of the financial statements or information that's provided by the city, please come to City Hall. Do not go to a newsletter or some third-party source for that information. I'm always available to answer any questions you have. Obviously, most of you know that when it comes to city finances, it's very complex. And so each question can be answered individually, one-on-one at City Hall. It's a much better place to get your information. We've been working on a lot of cleanup items at City Hall, and I'm excited to say that the state archivists are interested in some of our old records. So if they are coming to take a look at some of our old justice dockets, and that'll save the city the cost of preserving and microfilming and archiving these really cool things that we have in our possession that are currently just gathering dust and getting destroyed. So they're coming tomorrow to come pick up those items and take a look at them and let us know if the State Historical Society is interested in those. We are going to have at our next meeting on March 7th a public progress hearing for the CDBG grant that we are the pass-through agent for the ambulance shed. So anyone interested in attending that, there'll be notice in the paper. That's at the next meeting. And then also we'll have an airport master plan public meeting on the 10th of March at 6 p.m. at City Hall. So anybody interested in hearing the readouts of the airport master plan, please come to those public meetings.
Great, thank you, Misty.
What time is that on the 10th?
6 p.m. at City Hall. And
Mueller
they'll also
Center
be
is completely booked on the 10th, so
it's going to
based
be
on previous attendance to these master plan discussions, we think we can fit in City Hall. Okay, Nolan is a victim of the storms out east, hopefully getting back into town soon. I will be part of the consulting parties meeting tomorrow at the VA to continue discussions on alternatives for the VA. Also a reminder that you can still provide comments to the DOT for the highway reconstruction project. It is a DOT project, but we are working with them on our concerns as well. Thank you for being here. Thanks to the council for preparing for the meeting. I appreciate it. And
motion to adjourn.
Third.
If you oppose, you may stay.